Hello everyone, you are very welcome to our information session on our LLB Bachelor of Laws. My name is Lisa and I work in student recruitment in the School of Law. And in today's session, we will have a short presentation and afterwards we will hear from two of our LLB students, well, one LLB student and one LLB graduate. So Matthew Connolly is joining us today as our current LLB student, and we also have a graduate joining us a little bit later. And towards the end of the session, we will give you the opportunity to ask us any questions that you may have. So we'll begin now, and I'd like to pass you over to my colleague, Dr. Ronan Kennedy.
Thanks very much, Lisa, and good afternoon, good evening, everybody. So as Lisa said, my name is Ronan Kennedy. I'm the program director for the LLB. So I'm just going to talk about the program and why you might consider it for about 10 or 15 minutes. And then we'd have some other presenters, current and past students. But I'll come back then again towards the end, and I'll be available to answer any questions that you might have. So if you have questions, you might keep a note of them and we'll address them later. So the LLB is a very long-standing and very well established law program at the School of Law in NUI Galway. There was a time when it was actually the only law program, the only pure law program that we offered. We now offer a range of other options at the undergraduate level, but it remains a key part of what we offer at the graduate level. It is part of our overall attempt, I suppose, to offer a range of different types of educational programs for students who are coming to the law at different times in their lives or in their careers. Particularly with the LLB, we try to provide flexibility and to provide choice, while at the same time ensuring that students have a very good quality education, and also quite important for many of our students that they cover all of the different subjects within law that are necessary to progress on to a career either as a solicitor or a barrister. I should say a few words maybe initially about the school though, and the overall context in which you would be learning as a student here. And the school is also a very well established school. In fact, Faculty of Law was one of the original faculties of NUI Galway when it was first established quite a long time ago. And we've continued to grow and to expand with the university as the university itself has grown and expanded. And we are continuously recognized for that. We're in the top 200 universities in the world in the QS World Rankings. The law school itself was the Law School of the Year in 2019, and I'm sure we'll go back to win that award again also in the future. We work very hard at being a school that keeps up to date with what is happening in the world of law and in the world of legal practice, but also that works very hard at ensuring that we actually make a difference to the development of law and to the development of legal practice and to the development of policy. We host a number of world-leading research centers within the school. So we have particular expertise in human rights, we have particular expertise in disability law and policy, and we have particular expertise in housing law and policy. But we also have expertise in a whole range of other subject areas as well. So we have world-leading researchers in the law school. We contribute to the development of law and policy at a national, European, international, global level. Obviously, the slide calls out particular research centers like human rights, disability, and housing. But we also have expertise in constitutional law. We have expertise in information technology law. We have expertise in equality law as well. And through that, to that expertise, to the profile that I and my colleagues would have, you can connect up to a a very high quality learning experience in that we bring the experts that we know and the practitioners that we know into the classroom as much as we can. You will also continue to benefit from that after you graduate, because we have a very wide-ranging network of alumni and other contacts, again, nationally, European, internationally, and we often find that our graduates are very keen and very happy to help NUI Galway students or other NUI Galway graduates. In fact, I needed to assist an LLB student last year who wanted to find out more about the possibilities of practicing in Canada, and was within a couple of days able to put that person into contact with NUI Galway Law School graduates who were actually practicing in Canada. Were able to give a lot of practical advice on that. We also work very hard to make sure that our graduates are of good, deep education in the law, but are also well prepared for for employment afterward. We put a lot of work into transferable skills, into developing research skills, into developing the capacity to deal with the law as it changes. I teach legal research and method myself, and one of the things that I say to students in that course is that the law that you're dealing with now in the classroom is going to change. So you need to be ready that in 5 or 10 years' time, someone may come into your office, or now probably, I suppose, telephone you or speak to you on a screen or something, send you an email and say, I hear that there's a new act has been passed, or a new decision has come down from the High Court. What does this actually mean? And we make sure that our graduates can figure those things out and answer those sorts of questions by themselves, because they have the skills, they have the ability to do research, and they have the ability to apply that knowledge, whether it's in writing or orally or whatever, to explain what is going on to their colleagues or to their clients or whatever. And we also try to integrate that very much into the curriculum, in that we have opportunities for internships and placements built into the program. And you also have access to a career development center, which works with the law school on an annual Careers in Law Week, but is also available throughout the year if you have any careers related questions while you're a student. So to talk then in a bit more concrete terms about the LLB itself and what it is, it's a graduate degree, so you do need to have a degree in some other fields before you enter into the LLB. Normally it is completed over 2 or 3 years. It opens a wide range of doors, essentially, that you can then decide which career you want to go down. A reasonable proportion of our graduates go into the more traditional careers as a legal practitioner. Most of those will go into a career as solicitors. They tend to be by far the more numerous profession in legal practice in Ireland. But we also have graduates who go into careers in administrative roles, who go into careers in business, who end up working in the civil service or the public service, who work as journalists, who work in-house as compliance regulatory specialists, or sometimes as in-house lawyers. There are also some of us, like myself, I'm an LLB graduate, who go on to careers in academia, many other lines of work that people go into. And I think this is because of 2 things. One is that knowledge of the law and understanding what the law is and how to work with it is very important to all of those different lines of work, and to many other lines of work as well. But also because, as I said, we put a lot of emphasis on skills, and the ability to think like a lawyer, and particularly the ability to parse a problem and to develop solutions to a problem that a lawyer develops, is something that has applications to fields far beyond the law. There's a capacity for clear, analytic, and critical thinking that you will develop as a lawyer that you can apply in just about any professional field, not just as a lawyer or not just in working with the law. So the LLB, I talked a little bit about how long it can take, and you have essentially 3 main options, I suppose. We offer it over 2 years full time. That version of the LLB is very much focused on professional qualifications. So you essentially take the subjects that are required for the solicitor's profession or for the bar, and you have, unfortunately, because we're trying to squeeze it all into 2 years, you don't have any opportunity to take optional modules. But if you do want to take some optional modules and maybe specialize a little bit while you're taking the LLB, you can do it over 3 years or 4 years, which is a part-time version. That's not half-time. It's 45 credits a year, but it's still a lighter load than doing it over the 3 years full-time. If you happen to be a Galway graduate from any of the programs that are mentioned on the slide there, you may be able to actually shorten the duration even more. So students who have taken from the BA who have taken law can enter directly into third year of the 3-year LLBs they completed in 1 year. And if you come out of the BA government, if you come out with a major, then you can enter into the third year. If you come out with a minor, you can enter second year of the 3-year LLB and complete it in 2 years. And commerce graduates who have taken 35 credits or more of law can also go into second year of the 3-year LLB. I'm not sure if there are any commerce students or commerce graduates here, but one thing just to stress for those students is that it's not actually necessary to be in the law stream within the commerce degree to avail of that. It is, I think, technically possible to be in another stream and still have enough law credits. We don't check for which stream you're in, we just check to see how many credits you have. And if you're a graduate of another institution other than NUI Galway, we will certainly look at what exemptions you might avail of, and it might be possible to enter into a year other than first year. Those decisions are made on a case-by-case basis. We just have worked out exactly what we can do with our own Galway graduates because we know them, but there may be similar options for you if you're coming from another university. So why would you think about doing the LLB? Why is this a good idea? Well, you will then obtain a full law degree, which qualifies you to go on to the professions if that's something you want to do. You can then go on to that to study for an LLM, a master's in law, if that's something that you want to do, either to specialize before you go into practice or because you're more interested in perhaps an academic field or something adjacent to legal practice. But the main reason I think that most people take it is because it enables you to tick the boxes that need to be ticked in order to go on to qualify professionally. We also, as I've said, provide you with an opportunity to complete a clinical placement. That helps your CV. It gives you an opportunity to essentially dip your toes in the water and get a taste for what it's like to work as a lawyer. I speak to students on clinical placement, and some really enjoyed the experience. Some also come back and go, "Oh, that was interesting and I'm glad I did it, but that particular line of work doesn't really suit me." And that's also a useful thing to learn before you launch into a career, that perhaps you prefer to work in a court rather than work in an office or whatever. But we do give students the opportunity to avail of that to the extent that's possible. The number is limited, but we do our best to facilitate students, and students can also arrange their own placements if they want to. So the LLB gives you a very good jumping off point for those kinds of careers. It also makes you, as I've said already, much more employable. It's about knowledge of the law, it's about transferable skills. And what we are seeing is that many of our graduates actually go on to other careers. So an example just there on the slide is Connor Stitt, who is a graduate from a number of years ago, and I actually remember Connor well. I happened to be the person who was teaching IT law at the time that he talks about. So perhaps it was my teaching, or perhaps it was just the subject area is interesting, I'm not sure. But he has taken that particular interest that was kindled in the classroom and has developed a career in internet regulation. Hasn't actually worked as a traditional legal professional, but nonetheless is pursuing a career in the law, which I think he enjoys, and that I think highlights the point I'm trying to make, is that the LLB is very useful for a career in practice, but is also very flexible and essentially allows you to do what you want to do out of it, because we work very hard at ensuring that our graduates have the skills and knowledge and choices that they need. So to begin to wrap up, I suppose I've made some of these points already in different ways. All of the subjects that are required for the entrance examinations for the legal professions are covered. We work very hard on skills, on legal thinking, on the ability to do legal research, on the ability to write well. We offer a huge range of different optional modules if you're in the 3 or 4 year version of the LLB. So you can try out different things, or you can really try to build a specialism in a particular area, and then maybe cap that off with a master's if you have a very clear career plan. But we'll also work with you if you have other preferences. We do our best to try to expose students to practice, clinical placements. Moot court is another key aspect of it, and one of the slides earlier is actually taken from the moot court. This is where students pretend they're lawyers, they deal with a problem that we develop, and they argue it initially before staff in the school, but the finals of the moot court are actually held in the courthouse in Galway, and we are able to usually get a high court judge to do that. Students find that quite a challenging experience, but they're very, very glad they did it, and it gives them a real taste of what law is like. In terms of teaching and assessment, really focusing on the practical details now, it's in many ways similar to your undergraduate studies. Most of our material is assessed by way of the conventional end of term exams. A lot of continuous assessment to do in some modules, so assignments and essays and so on. But you're looking at a reasonably similar approach, reasonably similar workload to your undergraduate teaching, with about 10 to 12 hours a week on average during the 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. Very little or no evening or weekend hours in the LLB. If you're interested in going on to it, applications can be made through the link that's there on the screen, nuigalway.ie/apply. You need a level 8 degree, second class honours or above, essentially a 2.2 or better. We will look at your particular situation. If you don't have a degree but you have professional experience, I can assess that, and there may also be exemptions possible. Applications are dealt with on a rolling basis, so apply as early as you can. If you're currently studying for the BA in law, you don't need to apply. We'll automatically progress you. And it's worth being aware that there is SUSI funding available for the LLB as a progression from your undergraduate degree. But I should caution with that that is means tested, and not all applications are actually successful, and that's out of our hands. We don't control SUSI and their eligibility criteria. So if that's important to you in terms of moving on to the LLB, you probably want to explore that with SUSI sooner rather than later. So as I said, we'll have some more contributions in a moment from current and past students, and we'll answer some questions. But if you follow on questions afterward, or you want to find out some more, you can look at our website. We have presence on the usual social media platforms as well. And you're welcome to get in touch with me at any stage. My email address is there on the slide, ronan.m.kennedy@nuigalway.ie. If you are emailing me, don't forget to put the M in the middle. That is important. I have a colleague with the same name as myself in the library, and he's very patient at sending on my emails. But it's better if they arrive directly to my inbox in the first instance. So I look forward to hearing your questions in a few moments, and I also look forward to hearing from you possibly in the future with questions, and ultimately perhaps welcoming you to a classroom in NUI Galway in the future. Thanks very much.
Great, thanks very much, Ronan. And if anyone have any questions, you can start popping them in the chat and we'll answer them in a few moments, or you can raise your hand, and when we call out your name, you can turn on your microphone. But in the meantime, I would like to introduce you to a current student of ours, Matthew Connolly, who is from Massachusetts. So Matthew, if you wouldn't mind maybe, I suppose, telling us a little bit about yourself and why you decided to choose NUI Galway to do your LLB.
Absolutely. Thank you, Lisa, and thank you, Ronan. So yes, I'm American. I'm from Massachusetts, and I was living in California before I decided to begin the LLB at NUI Galway. I would say that the fact that the LLB is a professional stepping stone was definitely an enticing factor. Why NUI Galway specifically? Well, I was doing my research about universities in Ireland, and I decided on Galway because, well, at the time in 2020, it was the European Capital of Culture, and that was really important to me. Galway, if you're not familiar with it, is a very multicultural place. And after living in big cities in the United States, I thought, well, this might be a great place for me to go. And to be honest, I didn't know what to expect at first in terms of the LLB program in general, but I decided on the 2-year program because I wanted just, the career path was most important to me. I hope that answered that first question.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Matthew. And I suppose you don't come from a law background, so I suppose that's what what appealed to you probably the most about the LLB was it was a quick entry route into securing a law degree.
Yeah, I think that's an important point. My background is in theater. I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts from New York University from over 10 years ago. I graduated in 2010. So I have been out of university life and academia for a while. But that was not a hindrance in terms of, getting right back into it. I would say that the program builds upon itself. The first case brief, reading Friends of the Irish Environment, I probably had to read it 5 times because there were so many new terms and just the structure of the court system. There was so much to learn in the beginning, but I do think that NUI Galway assists students with the legal methods and research and the Irish legal systems modules that really give you a foundation on which you can build. And now I'm in my 2nd year of the 2-year program. And like I said, I think it's built upon itself, and it's a lot easier to understand and where the law is and what it means.
Great, thanks, Matthew. And if you could tell us maybe a couple of highlights, what have been the highlights for you so far studying the LLB program? What subjects or topics or projects have really stood out to you?
Certainly. Well, most recently, I participated in a moot competition. So I also am in part of the Law Society of NUI Galway. I'm the treasurer of the Law Society, and we held the Tom O'Malley moot competition in NUI Galway's own moot courtroom. And this was my first experience. There is a moot module, but I'm not part of that because it's not part of the 2-year program. But it was a highlight for sure. Mr. Justice O'Connor was there before us, and it was nerve-wracking, but also I felt like I was actually participating. Yeah, I was doing what I was supposed to be doing, getting in there like as a barrister, arguing law. We ended up placing 2nd place, so I don't think we did too terribly. That's certainly one of the highlights. And then in terms of modules, well, legal methods and research was fascinating because you do acquire those transferable skills like Ronan mentioned, and I feel comfortable using databases, and also I was able to explore a legal topic of my own choice, and that was very fulfilling. Other than that, criminal law, I suppose, is a highlight because in a way you get to learn, what the rules of this jurisdiction are. And sometimes they're fascinating. Sometimes the laws are from, over a century ago and they're still in place. And it's, I don't know, it's a learning journey.
No, that's great. That's really helpful, Matthew. I know lots of students have described mooting as one of the most transformative learning experiences. It really puts you out of your comfort zone. And I suppose I know you're still in the middle of completing your LLB, but do you have any career goals for the future? I know these might change, but at the moment, what are you aiming for?
Well, so like Ronan mentioned, the LLB program does set you up either to take the solicitor path or a barrister path if you're more comfortable or can see yourself, working explicitly in the courts, or also an academic path. In the fall season, so right now, there are applications happening for traineeships, which would be the first step if you want to be a solicitor. So currently, I'm in the process of submitting applications and also looking forward to taking the FE1 exams in March. However, at this point in my short legal career, there's still a lot of unknowns. So I'm keeping my options open.
That's great. Thanks, Matthew. And I suppose finally, for anyone watching who is not familiar with Galway City or familiar with Ireland, can you tell us a little bit about your experience moving to Galway City?
Absolutely. Well, I moved here from Los Angeles, which is a quite large city. I would say Galway is a small, large town, if you would. It's very personable. My favorite parts about Galway, it's probably, it's on Galway Bay. So there's the Salt Hill Promenade and just taking long walks, not on the long walk, but, and there's of course, a lively pub culture where you can sit down and listen to trad music. I myself am an Irish dancer, so trad music has a special place in my heart. So yeah, there's the cultural aspect of Galway as well, and it's, it's not Dublin. It's not a major city. It is a lot more familiar in that way, and that's one of the aspects that I really like.
That's great. Thanks so much, Matthew. And if anyone has any specific questions for Matthew, feel free to pop them in the chat. And we actually have another graduate who will be joining us shortly to talk about their experience completing the BA and the LLB. But in the meantime, I know a couple of questions have come in, so we will start to address some of those. So the first question is from Shauna. Hello, Shauna. And the question is there a cap on the amount of students that can go from a BA with law into the LLB? So Ronan, if you could answer that question, please.
Sure, Lisa. No, there isn't. If you, excuse me, if you pass your BA degree, you will automatically be progressed and what we call pre-registered for the LLB. And then it's up to you. Obviously, you're not obliged to carry on, but you have the choice of the easy choice of carrying on into another year and completing the LLB. But there's no cap as such.
That's great. Thanks, Ronan. And I see we have a question in from Liam. I was wondering if the work placement opportunities available in the LLB that are limited to a certain number will be based on the highest grades. And this is Liam is a student in the third year of the BA Joint Honours. So Ronan, if you could talk maybe a little bit about the process to secure a work placement.
Yeah, so maybe to respond a little bit to I think the concern that's underlying that. So grades are important, but they're not the crucial factor in terms of determining placements. It's an individual decision in a lot of ways. So we have a wide range of different kinds of placements in different kinds of organizations. Many of them are with solicitors firms, but also in civil and public service, and also in-house, essentially in commercial operations, not legal firms. And some of those are long-standing, and we're also continually developing new ones year on year. And essentially what's involved is an application process. So you submit a CV and you indicate what you're interested in, and we do our best to match up your interests to the placements that are available. And it's not quite like a job application process, but has some analogies to it, perhaps. So it's not a simple a thing as simply picking the top students from a grade perspective, and then they just get all the placements. It depends on what's available and how different individuals fit. So getting good grades does matter, and does help a lot in terms of ensuring that you are considered early in that process, but it's not crucial. And the other thing that students should bear in mind is that it is also available, or it's also an option or a possibility for students to arrange their own placements. And students do that for a variety of different reasons. Sometimes students will already have contacts in legal practice that are happy to take them, and we're happy to work with them on that basis. Sometimes they have interest in particular areas of law that we don't have an existing place for. And if they're willing to do the legwork and find somewhere that can give them that placement experience, then we're happy to oversee it. And another reason why people will sometimes do that is because they want to be in a particular geographic area, usually in their own hometown. So they will sometimes simply knock on doors in their own town with the different solicitors firms and find somebody to take them on a placement basis. And again, if they can make that work out, then we're happy to oversee it. Would the majority of the placements be in Dublin, or would there be a decent number in Galway as well? I don't know the exact breakdown. I think you're right that the majority of them would be in Dublin, but there is also a decent number of them in Galway as well. I would guess that the breakdown is something along the lines of maybe 50, 25, 25, so a lot of them would be in Dublin, maybe the majority or around the majority. We would have quite a lot in Galway. We have obviously a good network and a lot of alumni in and around Galway city, but we also would have placements in other cities like Limerick and Cork, and we would have placements in places all around the country. So in smaller towns around the country. So it's as with many things in Ireland, the centre of gravity does tend to be in Dublin, but you're not restricted to that.
Great, thanks, Ronan. And I see we've one more question about is there opportunities for BA students who enter the LLB to apply for clinical placements? Yes,
there's an opportunity to apply. We can't guarantee a placement to every single student. As I said, it's about matching interests and aptitude with what's available. But it is certainly an option for students coming from the BA into the LLB that they can look at placement as being something that they want to do.
Great, thanks, Ronan. And if anyone has any more questions, please pop them in the chat. But in the meantime, I would like to introduce you to a graduate of both the BA and LLB, Maeve Charles. And Maeve was actually recently a finalist in the Irish Law Student of the Year Awards. And Maeve, if you wouldn't mind maybe just briefly just telling us a little bit about yourself and why did you decide to complete the LLB after completing your BA degree at NUI Galway?
Absolutely. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Ronan. Hi, everybody. Thanks to see some of you again, and nice to see some new faces. So I'm Maeve, like Lisa said. I did the BA LLB. Yeah, I did my BA in creative writing with law and Spanish, and then kind of deciding to do the LLB, I realized while doing the doing the BA that I loved legal studies. Law was more so where I ended up spending most of my time when I had to decide what to study in the library. You'd always find me going towards the law part of the library rather than the Spanish department. No offense to Spanish at all, but then it kind of got to that point at the end of the BA, what am I doing next year? You know, some people were talking straight away about going into different masters and so on, and some people were saying taking a year out, going to go working, and I just knew I really enjoyed what I had studied so far in law, but felt that I wanted to have a bit more of a background in it in case I wasn't sure yet. Did I want to practice? Did I not want to practice? And just thought the LLB was kind of the best next step. You know, and it was kind of quite easy to, you know, it was kind of almost an opt-out situation with the BA going into the LLB. It was almost like you had to say, oh no, I don't want to do the LLB. So it was nice that there wasn't any extra real paperwork or so to go into it. Yeah, so as part of the BA, we covered tort, contract, constitutional, EU, criminal, and administrative law. I want to say I might have forgotten one there. Of course, legal research skills and legal research methods. Understanding the law is one of the new modules I think that's there, but we didn't cover, say, for the FE1s. It'd be quite normal to do land law, equity, and or property or land law, whichever way you'd like to phrase it, equity, and then I'm definitely forgetting one. Oh, company law. So the LLB gives you that. You can pick those subjects for the FE1s if that's something you're interested in, or if you're going into the INS. You know, I covered jurisprudence as well, just in case I wanted to go down that route. But you also get to choose a lot of different optional modules. I loved in EU law, we did like maybe a few weeks on competition law. So it was really interesting in the LLB to get to do comparative competition law. It was my first time getting to choose any optional module, because as a Connect student, you don't have any options because you've kind of already decided your Connect is your optional module, we'll say, for the undergrad. So it was really interesting taking different things like clinical legal placement, you know, get to have some hands-on experience. And then I don't know if Ronan's already discussed it or if it's still a module at the moment. The law and innovation module was fascinating as well. Intellectual property was another one I did. Yeah, and it was interesting to get to, you know, actually test out different law subjects and see what you would be more interested in. You know, a lot of my friends ended up picking a lot of human rights modules. Yeah, and so
Yeah.
that's kind of.
Oh, and we actually got a lot of questions in about clinical work placement, and one student asked if it's possible to apply for it if you're a BA student and you're a BA student who went on to do the LLB and do clinical work placement. So if you could tell us a little bit about the process to secure clinical work placement and who you worked with and what experience you gained.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, I suppose I never really was of the opinion that we couldn't with the BA background, but maybe that was me just not paying attention.
You can do clinical placement with the BA. It's just it was one question that came in, so I thought.
Okay.
I thought you were a good example to just tell BA students that you did the clinical placement.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of the sort of my classmates from the BA went on to do the LLB as well, and I'd say most of us who did the BA LLB ended up doing clinical legal placement. So in terms of applying, like Ronan mentioned, I only caught a glimpse of it there. It's not quite like a job application, but we did have to write a cover letter about and submit a CV. So if anyone's having difficulties with CVs, I'll plug the Career Development Centre now. They're fantastic for helping out with that. And then cover letter was kind of more so to just describe what experience did you have so far. Have you had any experience with working in like a legal environment? I hadn't at all. All of my jobs to that point had been, working in pubs or pizza places, so nothing fancy schmancy. And just kind of what would you be interested in? So like I mentioned, I thought competition law was really interesting. So I knew there was a possibility for the CCPC, so the Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, but also I'm very interested in kind of community law, free legal aid, pro bono work. So sound like two completely different areas, but I suppose you can have lots of different interests. And so I knew there was also opportunities with community law and mediation, both in Limerick and in Dublin in their Coolock office. I'm just lucky that I have family from Dublin, so I said I'd be more than happy to do mine in Dublin. And had basically a quick discussion with, it was Larry Donnelly who was sort of overseeing it at the time, and he's effectively said, so which would you be more interested in, the CCPC or Coolock? You could, for the CCPC you'd have to do an interview, but I think you've got a pretty good match there with CLM in Coolock. And I said, yeah, if that's going, I'd be delighted. Had to do a quick phone call with Roz, who was sort of the main manager in CLM in Coolock, and it was pretty, it was more so just a chat of what I'm interested in. So their main focuses were family law, mediation, housing law, and social welfare appeals. And so then kind of just the placement itself on Fridays, got up early on a Friday morning or Thursday evening, went up and stayed with family the night before. And like every day, every week was different. I don't know, you might have mentioned it already. So I work for Threshold now. So we're a tenants' rights organisation. My very first day at CLM, they were working on an eviction case. So that kind of opened my eyes to, just how common it can be that evictions happen on pretty much a daily basis across the country, and how that impacts people. And that really ended up kind of just lighting, sparking a light bulb in the background, saying this is something I'm interested in. And then didn't end up working on anything housing related for the next few weeks. We also had a case go to the Court of Appeal, and it wasn't on my actual placement day, but I was able to kind of kindly ask Ronan. I think I was missing his class on a Tuesday, and he said it was fine for me to miss it that week to go and view it in the Court of Appeal. It's just really interesting to see, law in action. Not just be reading judgments from a book or from Westlaw or wherever, but actually see it happening in person, and get to chat to the barristers and solicitors who were working on the case. Then other than that, there were just different research pieces that they would be submitting to the Legal Services and Regulatory Authority on kind of changes that need to come into the legal services realm in Ireland. And yeah, you could have anything really pop up on your desk on a Friday. I definitely recommend CLM if anyone's interested in community law, or housing, employment, that kind of. I definitely say if you're going for clinical legal placement, they're a great place to go. It's very, very much hands-on. You're not just sitting there twiddling your thumbs wondering what to do for the day. And it's been great. I actually now still have quite a bit of contact with them, because Threshold would sometimes, we'd refer cases over to them, and sometimes they would refer cases our way as well. So so it was a really great experience.
So it sounds like it's benefited your current role in Threshold, which is great. And we have lots of questions coming in on clinical placement. So one of the questions is it just once a week, or how long is it? So maybe Ronan, you could confirm the duration of the clinical placement.
Normally, I think it's 1 day a week. I think with individuals, it can be worked out in a different way, but that's the usual model.
Perfect.
That's how it worked for us as well. Like that, you know, there was one week that the Friday didn't suit me, and I was able to ask if I could swap it to a different day that week. And I think most places are pretty flexible on that too.
That's great. And we've questions in on completing your FE1s. So the question is basically, do people often take some of them during their LLB or some after, etc.? So Maeve, are you planning on, are you doing your FE1s at the moment, are you? Or
yeah, just I've finally made the decision to start them. So I was a bit late on that one. I suppose a lot of people know straight away during the LLB or after it, that's their goal. I wanted to take a bit of time first to see, do I want to go into practice? Is there another area that I'd like to explore first? So I think anyway, I'm going to get started on them in March. I've been saying this for the last few months, but as far as I know, while we were still doing the LLB, I finished it. Was it last year? Yeah, last August. August 2020. I had some deferrals, so would have been May 2020. But at that stage, I don't think you could do the FE1s while you were still studying, or you might have been able to after the BA, but no one that I knew decided to do the FE1s straight away. Everyone was saying, let's do them the following October. And then actually COVID almost in a way benefited people in that some FE1s were pushed from March to August. And if you were on the ball, you could do the EU and TORT one online in August, like straight after the LLB. And I know a few people did that because it was just then a matter of we finished up in May, you know, take June to breathe for a little while and then spend all of July studying for it. But a lot of people that I'd know would kind of take the year or two after finishing the LLB to or the BCL or B Corp or whichever route that they've decided to go down to work, get a bit of experience in anything, even not law related, and then take time off from work then to do the FE1s then.
Roland, you might have some comments on that as well. You might have heard of some students maybe doing the
Lisa, yeah. So I don't have a sort of a scientific answer to that question. It's really just based on my experience of dealing with students. In terms of sitting the FE1s while you're an LLB student, that's a question really for the Law Society rather than us, but my understanding of the rules is that you can't do that. I think you need to complete the LLB first. Certainly I haven't heard of students doing that. Really anecdotally, I haven't surveyed people generally, but my understanding of what usually happens is that students will stagger them. So there are 8 exams in total, they'll take 4 and then they'll take 4 the following session. So it will take a year or more after the LLB before they'll have completed all of those. In terms of the question about having to do all of the FE1s before securing the apprenticeship, I don't know the answer to that question. That's a matter for the Law Society. So we don't really have a role in that stage. We ensure the students have covered the modules that they need to be able to be confidently prepared for the FE1 exams, and then we step away. And I suppose in general prefer not to answer questions to do with the Law Society in case I get any of the details wrong.
That's perfect. And we might just wait another moment or so if anyone has any questions. We have a couple of minutes left if someone wants to pop in with something, but that looks like that's it from everyone. If someone wants to turn on the microphone to ask a question, that is fine too. But before we finish up, I would like to thank Matthew and Maeve for giving up their time today to talk about their student experience. Thanks very much to Matthew and Maeve. So I'll actually pop an email in the chat there. I know Ronan already gave his email, but I'll also pop an additional email in the chat as well, just so that you have it in case you have any further questions after today. So thanks everyone.
Yeah, thanks very much to everybody for coming along. Thanks to Matthew and to Maeve for giving up their time. And I think that actually, although the presentations were given separately and we didn't really coordinate them, I think that you should have got a good sense of the extent to which we try to both give the solid academic background, but also a good emphasis on practical skills and preparing people for the workplace in terms of things like moot court that Matthew is doing, and then Maeve's experience. And yes, Maeve Law and Innovation is still running. Actually, I'm going to have 40 plus students next semester, so I'm not sure how I'm going to manage that. It's grown from the dozen or so that it was when you took it.
Yeah.
But we do work at that, and we try to make sure that students have all those kinds of opportunities to explore different career options and possibilities, and ensure that their CVs look good when they leave NUI Galway. So if you do have questions after the event, by all means, follow up with me or follow up through that email address that Lisa has popped into the chat. And I hope I do see you all as LLB students in the future. And thanks again to Matthew and to Maeve. Maeve, it's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Come back and keep in touch from time to time. It's always good to hear about our graduates doing well and getting to do work that they enjoy when they leave. So thanks very much.
Thanks so much.
Thanks so much. Thanks for asking me along. It was great to see you, and yeah, best of luck everybody else. Yeah.
Thank you.